Hello everyone, I'm Tim Shriver and I'm a founder of Special Olympics. Wait a minute, you're thinking, you're not the founder, Tim. It was your mom, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, who was the founder. Well, that's true, but in another way, each of us, all of us who contribute to this movement are founders. We are founders of moments of awakening, moments of skill, moments of competition, moments of winning and losing, moments of celebration of the human spirit. So I want to welcome you to helping to continue to build and celebrate the revolutionary work that Eunice Kennedy Shriver started more than 50 years ago, but for which you are all founders today. This September, on the 4th annual Global Eunice Kennedy Shriver Day, our whole movement's going to join together in being founders of what it means to play unified, to live unified. People all over the world will come together in celebration of one woman, of one vision and one dream, but also in celebration of the way in which that one dream is ours today, in the ways in which we can each celebrate the talents and abilities of people with intellectual disabilities, and by celebrating them, celebrating each of us. By watching and having our hearts opened by the courageous and contagious spirit of our athletes, to discover and to in fact found moments when we celebrate and recognize the courageous and contagious spirit that each of us carries within us. Within our movement, we're working to create the first ever unified generation all over the world. Not a generation named by a date, not a generation named by an outside event, but a generation that accepts the mantle of inclusion and unity as its own. A generation that in some ways would have been started by Eunice Kennedy Shriver. The times when she celebrated at that first groundbreaking camp, a summer camp where people came from institutions and from dark rooms and from lonely places to simply learn how to play, to learn how to join together in swimming and playing kickball and riding horses and enjoying one another, in celebrating one another, and getting out of the heads and the stigmas and the biases and the fears that society had imposed on them, and running free. That celebration of more than 50 years ago is the celebration we will bring to life today, every day, bringing together people with and without intellectual differences, teaching them to play together, showing them that they are more alike than different, helping them to discover within themselves the best in each other. That's our vision. It's a world where people of all ages welcome social inclusion, where people of all ages and all abilities work together in a positive way, where we celebrate what's good, we don't focus on what our weaknesses are, where we recognize our gifts, not our disabilities, where we know that we each have differences, and that in celebrating those differences, we are more together than we could ever possibly imagine to be apart. So this EKS Day, Special Olympics Kenya, is leading the way, launching a new event as athletes with and without intellectual disabilities take to the court in the nation's first ever unified basketball competition. And Special Olympics Philippines is leading the way, founding new moments where athletes with and without intellectual disabilities and street youth come together for a series of matches in Manila. They'll be playing hard too as they compete in unified futsal, a series of fast-paced five-a-side matches on an indoor court all the way in Manila. Special Olympics Mexico is also leading the way, founding, getting its game together in the city of Tijuana as they host a unified floor hockey tournament. At Special Olympics Guyana, it's all about unified cricket. That's where they're leading the way. At Special Olympics Texas, they're getting people excited, moving all over the state, participating in middle school sports competitions, along with youth rallies, and thanks to the leadership and inspiration from Special Olympics Project Unify, they're celebrating the ideal that middle schools can be places of inclusion for everybody. Thanks to those young leaders for founding and leading the way. In Israel, Special Olympics is hosting unified girls basketball competitions, as well as the largest family event of the year, leading the way, founding new moments of inclusion and acceptance and hope. Special Olympics China will be leading the way this year by hosting unified sports events at universities in provinces around the country, engaging and recruiting new students by the thousands. All of you, thank you The whole world joins me in cheering for you. The whole world joins me in celebrating the idea that my mother would have been so proud to call the celebration of her day. In one of her last speeches, she called upon all of us to continue to do her work, to stand up for people with intellectual disabilities, to teach the possibility that is each of us, to fight against injustice for the rest of our lives, she said, but she also reminded us that this is great and noble work. She asked in her thought-provoking way, and I quote, "What good will come from this for yourselves and for your country?" The answer she gave is by now familiar to many of us. She said, "There is no joy like the joy of unleashing the human spirit. There is no laughter like the laughter of those who are happy with others. There is no purpose nobler than to build communities of acceptance for all. This," she said, "is our glory." Thank you for being founders of moments of that kind of glory all over the world.